Hello, everybody, and welcome on the Good Data Morning Show. Today, we're going to see how future technologies will impact data governance, because kind of the other way around, we know that's true, right? Data governance does impact AI, does impact machine learning, or I hope that you think it does, because it does. So today we have an amazing guest, David Marco, or Dr. David Marco.
Dr. David Marco. You spoiled the surprise. I will introduce David before we bring him on. So our today's guest has an amazing and a very impressive bio. I don't even know where to start, to be honest. He's known as the world's foremost authority on metadata management and the father of the managed metadata environment. He is an internationally recognized expert in the fields of data governance, data literacy, big data, data warehousing, master data management, and data management. So as you can see, we have a celebrity on the show, everyone. In 2004, he was named the Melville Dewey of Metadata by Crain's Chicago Business, as he was selected to their very prestigious Top 40 Under 40 list. He is the author of several books already become classics, which are Universal Metadata Models and Building and Managing the Metadata Repository, a full lifecycle guide. He is also the president of Data Management University, which is datamanagementu.com, which we're going to show you to you later. And our guest worked with over 90 client partners to fully build their data management and governance programs. In 2020, he received a lifetime professional fellowship from the Institute of Information Management, which is their highest honor. And now brace yourselves, everyone. Just as we said at the beginning, just this year, he was awarded an honorary Doctor of Philosophy in Data Management for his contributions to the field of data management. Everyone, please welcome Dr. David Marco.
Yay.
Wow, thank you. Diana, I have to tell you, this is the first time I've done a webinar or presentation where somebody's called me doctor. So you are the first. And I'm still getting used to it. Oh, it's such a blessing. And I have to tell you, the first few times it was on the footer of my email, I thought, is something wrong here? It just didn't look right, but I'm starting to get accustomed to it now. But it is taking a little bit of time to get used to.
You know what? There's so much work put in the two letters before the name. Why not put them there?
Oh, Diana, we were talking before the show about the journey of it. And it is, and I know you are going to go through that journey yourself. I know you will do fantastic. But boy, it is a struggle. I have to share with you two, though. Mm-hmm. You've introduced me, but I have brought a guest to this show. Who you are both, it is your idols. Because I know something about it. Let me bring the guest. Hold on. Wait a minute. This is the real Baby Yoda. Hold on. Wait a minute. Can you see this?
Yes.
No way. It has the little toe.
Pulled out of his hand. You see? Let me put it back. So anyway, he says hello, and I will put him back. We are big fans of that person. Also, the Marco household are big Baby Yoda fans.
Nice.
I need to tell you that before I married George, I had to watch all the Star Wars and like them in order to be welcomed in the family.
So, Diana, there's something to this. My wife, Elizabeth, she has seen all the Marvel movies at least 3 times. I'm a big Marvel superhero fan. So she's read the graphic novels. She's seen the movies. Wow. It's all part of having a family.
Very nice. Very nice. And we have Scott Taylor here with us. Hi, Scott.
Good to see you, Dr. Marco.
Dr. Marco.
Scott, it is good to see you on board, sir. You and I, Scott is one of the few people we run across each other constantly. We've yet to talk. So, Scott, at some point, you and I have to get together.
Absolutely. all of us. So we gotta have dinner at one time.
And with you, Scott.
And of course, we have another. Of course, we have another doctor here, Tom Eves. Very, very nice to see you. And hello, Martin. And hello, everybody. Very, very nice for you to be tuning in.
I'm not surprised. I think Baby Yoda is getting more hellos than any of us are, but that's okay. He's a bigger celebrity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, the Marco family, if you can't tell, are big fans.
So tell me, if I get a PhD, does George get to put the PhD letters in his name too? Is it by association?
By association.
So Diana, he doesn't, but he must now call you doctor. So even he says, honey, it's Dr. Honey, Dr. Sweetie. That's the rule. There are rules on this, and these are the rules of it.
I think even for that, it's all worth it.
Diana, the nightmare that you will go through makes it all worthwhile. And I think, in listening to some of your shows, you've written a few books yourself.
I have, yes, on moving abroad. I shared a little bit of my experience with moving to Canada. Was not the happiest and the most joyful experience of all. So I felt the need to share with others.
Where'd you move from?
From Romania. We're both from Romania, but George moved when he was 14 and I moved when I was 26. And I miss my family, my grandmas, my friends, everything. Yeah. So I underestimated what an international move actually means. And I thought that there's so many people moving abroad before the pandemic though. And I felt compelled to create a program for them, for people who want to move abroad.
Well, Romania and Canada, very similar, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Highly different countries.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. So, segueing into
why we're here.
Why are we here? Also, want to just say hello to Manish. His name doesn't show up. Security settings, Manish, on your LinkedIn account, but good to see you as well. Thank you so much for coming. So, segueing into our topic, AI. Machine learning, and really the impact on data governance. What is it, David? I mean, it's a lengthier conversation, but
yep. Well, first off, let's kind of start at the beginning. I'm going to annoy all the AI people in your audience right off the get-go. I don't believe artificial intelligence exists in the way that we typically think about it. Meaning, the classic definition is it is computers reacting and thinking and processing the way a human does. Computers do a terrible job at this. We're all married here for everyone listening in. Computers, when you give them the same input, run it through the same algorithm, you get the same result. People don't work like that. Intelligence is intrinsically human. And so artificial intelligence, to me, as far as actually thinking, doing something purely creative, not as great. Machine learning, though, and I'm going to jump right to the ending of what I think of this. Machine learning, supervised machine learning, with labeled data sets and historical examples. Now that is a disruptor in our field, and where I see it, I mean, it is just fantastic when you hear about some of these significant applications that are making a difference. I know the companies I'm working with, that's what we're seeing. When we start applying machine learning in that respect, we're seeing a great result. And I don't know if you want me to just dive into how I see it hitting data governance, but I see it so significantly in our field. When you look at data governance, all the tools that are in the market, historically, they take a lot of work. It takes a lot of human effort because so I'll give you an example. Mayo Clinic, longtime client partner of ours. And I remember we had to define sodium. Now, guys, sodium's on the periodic table of elements. I'm thinking we have a 5-minute conversation on this one. Right. It took over, right? It's on the periodic table of elements. You're educated. This isn't complex, right? By the time we were done, 26 definitions of sodium.
What?
Yes, 20, and I'll tell you why. Now, one of them was the one on the periodic table of elements, but and I'm going to exceed my knowledge pretty quickly, but the way these high-end Mayo Clinic, the finest doctors, in the world are there, and they take it seriously. And I have to tell you, they would change just one molecule in it for a compound that they would use differently. So for them, they literally ended up with 26 different definitions for sodiums. So putting in the little tags and all that wound up being so important. And that process, that manual process of deciding how we're going to look at our data and having that enterprise understanding, it's demanding and it takes time to do it. And so one of the cool things that you guys know, regulations are really helping drive data governance. CCPA, including CCPA 2.0, GDPR, and then whenever we get the US version of GDPR, which is coming, you look at polls, it is not a party issue. Both parties have GDPR-esque bills on the floor. If you ask the average person, in fact, you know what? I know I'm not getting to the answer to the question, but something I have to share. There's a great website. I don't know if you've seen it, called Have I Been Pwned is the website.
Have I been pwned?
And yes, it is. I could type it in or we could put it in the chat. You can actually see how many times your email address has been hacked or came out in a data breach. So for my email address 14 times, it has been part of one of these data breaches we've heard about. So I have there it is. So here, you could type in my email address, dmarco@ewsolutions.com. And you will see, I think it's 12 or 14 times this has happened to me. And if you scroll, now I've never been pasted. That's when they take your email and paste it. But you start going down. I don't know who, keep scrolling down, please. I don't know who most of these people are. These Evite, please stop there. Evite's a great one. I have a 13-year-old. Look at LinkedIn. We're all on LinkedIn. They let our data out. Evite, I have a 13-year-old daughter. I used Evite maybe when she was 8 years old to organize a birthday party. That got hacked. I mean, wow. And MyFitnessPal, I actually used that app, one of the few I know. I used to use it anyway. They were hacked. And I share this because people realize how their data is getting passed around, or they're starting to. So there's no question the average person in the United States wants their data to be secured vastly better than what it is. So there's no question that data governance will continue to grow. And it's something that we're going to see in our industry. And it's important because too many times companies have just failed. I'll give you an example. I don't want to name the client partner because they're well known, but Diana, you would love them. They make beautiful goods for women, just stunning. It's just stunning. Well, off air, I could tell you who they are, and you may even own a product or two. So I can tell you, when you build beautiful things, beautiful products that you buy, what's one of the most important data elements you can have? Product number, right? We started working with them. Yep. 3 different definitions for product number. It's product number.
Wow.
So it shows you how sloppy. In fact, they have a significant, online presence, as anybody would, selling goods. They load their online website from spreadsheets.
I'm not surprised. So many big companies that I thought have it all together, they use Excel quite often. Yes.
Well, and we have a term for that in the industry. Excel hell. That's what it's called. And it's still, I have argued for years, the number one analytics platform as far as use. It's not Tableau. It's not Cognos. It's not BI. It's Excel. That's what we see. A lot of people still use it. And it's one of the battles we face as professionals, is to try to get people to really understand their data and manage it properly. And I like to joke that, my daughter's 13. I have no plans on retiring. I have many decades in front of me. By the time she retires, we'll still be battling this challenge.
Absolutely. And yeah, even the fact that you have so many definitions for the same term, another challenge that Scott put it here in the comments is that you have this cheeseburger definition of a product number equals a number for a product. Not very helpful.
It's awful. It's called a tautology, and it drives me insane. Scott, what you've put in here, that is the classic definition. You go to a client and they will say, and if they have some definitions, customer number, the definition is number of the customer. That's awful. It is a case study in what's wrong, because that definition tells you nothing additional to what the name did. And to say it's lazy, that would be the kindest thing, but it adds no value to it. We need better than that. And there are better than that. And there are some groups, we're working with the United States federal court system, and they were one of the client partners. We were stunned where they really put forth quality definitions that had meat to them, that taught you something, that really communicated. Because how do we get this information today? It takes years working at a company, years to learn all the little nuances. And unfortunately, people don't stay, back when we all were kids, our parents maybe worked at the same company for 10, 20, 30 years. But you don't see that anymore. You see some of it, but not as much. We need to be able to get new employees and staff up to speed faster. We need to be able to communicate the same language better. And that, to me, is one of the big challenges here. And it's one of the largest ones you deal with when you're trying to help a company evolve in data governance. And that's where, to get back to your question of, hey, where do you see machine learning and AI helping? It's in this area. Think about PII, personally identifiable information. Number one, we don't have a global definition for that. If you look at the regulations, they all define it differently. The ones that even actually define it. Most do not. Most, it's general terms used, as opposed to, here are the 40 or 50 data elements that we're interested in. So what we're seeing, and all the vendors have invested in this, whether it's the people like the Calibras, the Elations, the ASG, the data. I feel like if I name one, I need to name everyone. The Data 360s, the OneTrust, the Octopies, they're all putting money into this technology, because imagine if you could use this technology to help identify customer street address, customer name, customer number, customer type, product type. That would simplify the task of the data steward. And if we could even knock 40 to 50% of their work down, even a number that small, you're talking millions and millions of dollars in people power for the average Global 2000 company trying to define their data in their data governance program.
Well said. Can't argue with that.
And it's exciting. I have to give credit where credit's due. One of the initial companies I saw go furthest was a company called Global IDs in the earlier time of it. They had some really forward thoughts in it. And it's going to be interesting to see, can these companies pull it off? So far, what I've seen in the industry, I think there's a lot of promise, but we're still waiting to see that it really reduces the task. So that's, and I think it's going to take a little bit of time to get to that point. So it's going to be exciting. I can't wait to see what the next 2 to 5 years bring to the data governance industry. It's just a very exciting place to be.
Absolutely. And just as John is mentioning here.
Yeah, close this discussion once and for all. Global standardization and interoperability.
Well, exactly right. And John, let me tell you, I've been part of global standards for a long time. And I will tell you, it's always a challenge, John. Having worked in some of those groups, you get companies involved. They want their standard because it helps their tool be more successful. I think the organization that's done the best in this is the ISO standards, things like ISO 11179, ISO 36, the country codes. These are really valuable standards. And when professionals like us work with companies, that's what I try to bring in. Hey, let's not, for goodness sake, let's not figure out how to abbreviate every country. That's just a waste of our time. There are standards out here. Let's use those. And the more we can do that, if you're in the medical field, things like SNOMED, utilize the standards that are out there. Because I agree with John. This stuff is important. It makes my life easier. Why do I want to define the standard when I could pull something that other people have spent months and probably years working on? So I agree with John. It's a great point.
Absolutely. So, should we go into some of the slides that David prepared?
Excellent. Yeah, I've hit most of these points, but that's okay. I'm sure there's something I missed. So let's pop them up and I will just move forward with them. And then you'll have to help. So let's tell everybody how the sausage is made. We have not practiced flipping these slides. So I think if I flip them, it should work on your screen, correct?
It should, yes.
Okay. I only have a few slides, so we're going to go through this quickly. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the emerging technologies. I think we will probably more verbally talk about 5G because we want to have more of a conversation. But I think some of the things I talked about with AI and machine learning, let me put that in here. Number one, here's my background slide. I'm not going to go through it, but I did include my email address here. If you have questions, if you want to talk about helping your data governance program move forward, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm glad to help.
And definitely connect with David on LinkedIn as well. Follow him. He's posting content. So please make sure you engage with him on LinkedIn as well.
The content is amazing. It's so interesting. The content that Dr. David Marco is sharing. So everyone follow David.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'll tell you, George, you guys have helped set the tone on LinkedIn. So it's great if people like ourselves and Scott and somebody other and Ravit can all keep posting good quality content, we could really help move the industry forward. So it's exciting, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But I do have my email here if people have questions. So let's talk quickly about artificial intelligence. I've already shared with you that I believe the whole concept of intelligence is human. It's not something that's well mimicked. And if you don't believe me, just look at your family, look at your spouse. You can give your spouse the exact same input one day and get a very different output based on the day, based on the minute. And artificial intelligence, computers don't mimic that very well. Keep in mind, AI has massive amounts of hype around it. You're talking hundreds of millions of dollars of marketing. So be very cognizant of that because there's a lot of claims that are getting made and the reality sometimes is different. Machine learning. This to me is what's truly exciting. This is a method of data analysis that automates our analytical model building. And it is technically a branch of AI, and it's really where we build systems that can learn from data, identify patterns, and make decisions. So you hear about neural networks and decision trees and natural language processors. This is all part of machine learning. There are three major types of machine learning: unsupervised, reinforcement, and the one that's really exciting, supervised learning. I'm going to go through these quickly so we can get back to our discussion. Unsupervised learning is when you use ML to learn from test data that has not been labeled, classified, or categorized. It's almost like classic data mining where we're just saying, hey, let's use our machine processing on this big set of data, typically large, and see what we can come up with. Unsupervised learning, what's it really doing? It's just identifying commonalities in the data. And it's reacting based on the presence or absence of such commonalities. I mean, that's really all it's doing. Reinforcement learning. This is the second major type of machine learning. This enables an agent to learn in an interactive environment, really by trial and error. And by the way, isn't that how all of us learn? Mm-hmm. But anyway, I actually like to think that don't we learn more from our errors than we do from our successes?
I think so.
And I don't mean data management. Yeah. And I don't mean data management, Diana. I mean life. So big thing to understand in reinforcement learning, the model doesn't have the answer. That's the big thing. All right. Supervised learning. This is where we have input variables, but we also have the output variables. And we use an algorithm to learn the mapping function from the input to the output. And we call this supervised learning because the process of an algorithmic learning module from a training data set, it's very much like a teacher supervising a learning process, which I think everybody here can relate to. And that's what we see as being disruptive. Supervised machine learning, where we're using labeled data with historical examples. This is what I'm seeing with the companies I'm working with, really bringing success in our industry. And to me, it's very disruptive, and that disruptive in a good way. So what does this have to do with data governance? So let's start at the beginning. We gave some examples of how poorly understood data is within companies. And let me tell you, I know we have a lot of people here in the analytics world. That's where I started. I started building data warehouses back at the beginning. I don't care what kind of model you have. I don't care how genius your data science team is. When your data is incorrect, when it's misunderstood, when it's misleading, you will get a lousy result. Your analytics, your predictive analytics, your descriptive analytics, none of them work without good data that we understand. It all begins there. And right now, when you look at the average, George, please jump in.
Which is why the data scientists right now, on average, they're spending at least 60% of their time cleansing that data before they actually get to do their own work and analyze the data that they were supposed to do in the first place. And that's because data governance is not there to help them out.
George, you're absolutely correct. And think about this. If you're a data scientist and you think about what your job is, are you really qualified to cleanse it? And the answer is you're probably not. I will share an example. Cigna, huge insurance company. We had 14 business experts in the same room. And we were defining the types of customers that we have. And these are people, all they do is business. I mean, this is what they live, eat, and sleep with. And I remember we spent hours defining customer and the different types they have. And right before we're getting ready to break for lunch, this one woman raises her hand and says, well, wait a minute. We have this whole other line of business. And we just kind of all looked after hours on this and said, we need to eat something. And then however, like you said, George, and you're right, the data scientist is stuck because without a good data governance program, they're having to do the cleaning themselves. And it's really hard with the data lake situation. They're just taking data from a data lake and it hasn't been integrated. It hasn't been standardized. And so the scientist has to do it. That puts them in a really difficult place.
Absolutely. And like Scott is pointing out here is that often enough, the data scientists are, they're eager to help. They're eager to solve their own issues. And maybe that's one of the reasons why they're not going to the data governance team first. And they just try and do it themselves.
Well, Scott, nature hates a void. And they're just stuck. The data scientist is stuck because they're sitting there saying, I need I need to test this hypothesis. I need to bring business value. And they're being forced to do something that really isn't in the classic data scientist skill set. So Scott, I am with you. It is a problem, and it's not going away as quickly as we would like, unfortunately. All right, let me get back to the deck. I think what's also contributing, guys, incredible amount of IT redundancy. In my personal experience, I have one of the images I've used. It's probably the image I've used the longest in my speaking career, is one showing all these lines from system to system in a company, and it's real. It comes from one of our client partners, and I use it to talk about IT redundancy. In my experience, the average Global 2000 company, pick anyone you like, has a minimum of 4-fold needless data redundancy. Meaning, if they have 4 petabytes of data, you can remove 3 of them, and you'd have all your backups. You'd have all your advanced analytics. You'd have all your capabilities, all your transactional systems. It's just so much is redundant and completely out of control. And that's the real world we live in. Let me give you guys an example. And machine learning holds a lot of promise in helping our data governance programs and helping us manage our data. Let me give you an example. Micron, a client partner of ours, we had built for them a data governance program, brought in some really great technology. And the story I'm going to walk you through is a lot of fun, but it was never the goal of our data governance program. They had over 6,000 ETL jobs, extract, transform, and load. Using machine learning enabled metadata management, we discovered that over half of these jobs, 3,641, were dormant in one way or another, meaning the job was producing data sets nobody was using. That was the classic. Or it's pulling from data sets nobody's using. Able to remove that redundancy, 60% reduction in just ETL jobs. That's an example, a little touch, a little taste of what machine learning can bring. So let's apply this to PII. Let's apply it to critical data elements. Let's apply it to just having enterprise definitions for our data. That's the promise of machine learning in the data governance world. And I can't wait to see what these vendors are going to bring out. Because keep in mind, data stewardship teams are the ones trying to understand the data. I can give you the typical global company. They have over 10,000 applications. I think of client partners of ours like the BPs and Targets of the world and Costco's. They have 10,000 or more, or Army, my goodness, or FBI. They're huge. If machine learning can reduce this task, if it reduces it 10%, you're talking about millions of dollars in people power. So I think it's really, really exciting. And I'll stop sharing now. We'll get back to talking, but I thought it would be fun to go through some of that stuff.
Thank you. So yes, we do have a few questions here, and they range. So let me see which one we can start with. Let's start with a very simple one from Kingsley here, and Kingsley is joining us all the way from Africa here, from I think Kenya. Is it Kingsley? So do you think Google Sheets can catch up with Excel anytime soon?
Kingsley, they are going to try, my friend. That is, and can I tell you one of the things that is helping drive Google Docs, Google Sheet, the whole Google platform, is something called, and this will be a newsflash to probably everybody, SEO, Service Engine Optimization. Do you know that when you put up Google Docs and Google Sheets and they link back to a website or URL, that it actually helps raise the ranking of that website in Google? A little bit of a shocker. So very interesting how that game's, because you're in now a multi-billion-dollar game. Excel and these companies, they're in the billions of dollars. Do I think it can catch up? Can it? Well, sure, it can, using that terminology. but it's going to take a really long time. Excel is so deeply entrenched in companies. I've seen companies, I'm not going to name these, 100 terabytes of integrated data, world-class levels of master data management, just world-class in every respect, and you will still find hundreds, if not thousands of people pulling data from those sources and shoving it into an Excel spreadsheet they built. And so, George, you've had several videos recently on Excel, and I really enjoy because that's reality. So, is it going to catch up soon? No. Is Google going to continue to expand that functionality? Oh, absolutely, 100%. Great question.
And you know what? Funny enough, when I was doing those videos, I was doing a little bit of research to see, what should I do a video on? Should I do a video on a dedicated software on data quality versus Excel? And Excel was far really more searched as a question than some of these other, dedicated solution tools. Exactly. So okay, I'll play the numbers game. I'll help the masses here with these videos. So we have another question here from Manish. What's the existing status of data strategy of telecoms, and how? And how should telecoms change their data strategy with 5G already here and the evolving complexity of consumer needs?
Well, where do we begin on 5G? Oh, goodness. So 5G, remember I talked about marketing hype behind AI. 5G has tons behind it, tons and tons and tons. And let me get to some of the pros and the cons. So 5G, we can, if I were to pull out my iPhone, 5G could give us the ability to stream and download high-def movies in seconds as opposed to minutes. Probably, I'm guessing, maybe you guys use Hulu or Roku or some kind of streaming service. Most of us do. It would be really nice if we had a little better definition on that thing, right? So, and I can assure you the Marco household has the highest bandwidth that you can get in the middle of the United States. I assure you of this. So it has that promise because when you look at it, you can push so much more data through a 5G network. It vastly more. However, and you guys knew that there was a however coming, right? When you look at a 5G band, it's very wide. A 4G is much more narrow. 5G band I'm trying to get my hands in the picture here. 5G band is very wide. The problem with that band has two big problems. Number one, that band starts denigrating really fast. It deteriorates so quickly, and much more than 4G. And that's a problem because now you have to retransmit over and over and over again when those packets come in and they're just missing data. Second problem is, I don't know how well you see this. This is just, behind me is just a typical wall, typical wall sitting in a home. 4G penetrates that pretty well. It just so happens in my office, I have my router. You can't see it, it's over to my right. But I can get internet at a very great bandwidth all over my home. 5G does not penetrate walls very well. In fact, it does it pretty poorly. And I even saw one estimate that they think they're going to need cell towers, or these hubs you see, every 2 to 10 houses just to have the 5G signal strong enough. So yes, 5G is coming fast, but there are real concerns about it. The degradation of the packets, the fact it can't penetrate well, the trillions of dollars of infrastructure that'll be needed, and the health risks. There are very serious concerns about cancer, about infertility, about all kinds of emotional elements with not only 5G, but Wi-Fi and devices in general. So that is a very interesting topic. So all those things are going to be a battle with 5G. And how will it impact data governance? Just to bring this kind of back down to earth for us. That remains to be seen. But if you imagine that you can have so much more bandwidth, you can have now, the real thing people want is mobility. Imagine salespeople really being able to pull heavy duty data analysis for their customers, as opposed to having to do it always from a terminal within a building, to be able to do it off of a phone, off of an iPad, to be able to push heavy duty volumes of data through there. Even you guys know, we talked about, as you've done this show, sometimes bandwidth becomes an issue, right? Not everybody has a really great connection. I mean, that's a problem, right? In today's Zoom world where we're all remote.
Absolutely. and Rajendra here was asking do you think 5G be more difficult for data governance, data privacy, as the 5G equals the network is the data?
Rajara, boy, do you bring up a big point. I could tell you from working in the Department of Defense, longtime client partner of ours, I can tell you they have a rule. If it goes across a cellular network, it can be intercepted. Mm-hmm. Just simple as that. If we're sending it over a cellular network, anybody can intercept it. There's another website, I can't remember its name off, there's several, where you can look at cyber attacks going on. It's staggering. There's millions of attacks. By the way, little question for you guys. Guess what country is number one in conducting the most cyber attacks?
Conducting. I would want it, and not to be
coming from
pick on anybody there. But I would say my thought would go to China right now, just hearing about some of the stories. Number 2, okay.
Mm-hmm.
They're number 2. The United States, number 1.
Wow.
And you have to understand, India, we like to be number 1. So when it comes to cyber attacks, we are number 1. So
congratulations.
We're proud of that. Oh, Diana, when you talk about number 1, I was born and bred in the city of Chicago. We're the murder capital of the world, and we're proud of that. I mean, it's a great thing. Anyway, to the question, anything that goes over a cellular signal can be intercepted. So this becomes a massive issue with 5G, and be able to put gigabytes and terabytes of data just flying through the air. Your competition can intercept that. And I can tell you, when it comes to security and privacy, most companies are very poor at that. I'll share with you a company, I won't give their name, design company. They build beautiful clothing designs. And it's riveting because in their main design room where all their new creations are being built, one entire wall is a window. And I'm looking and I see an apartment building a block down. And I'm thinking, gosh, if I were your competition, I could have somebody stay in that apartment with a $20 telescope you could buy from Costco. And I could see everything you're doing in here. Maybe we should rethink this.
Maybe that's a decoy store.
It could be. It is. Well, yeah, you start putting, see, that's what I put, all your really ugly stuff by the window. And maybe that'll be success. You can trick them. But to your point, though, it's a big issue. And these 5G signals can be intercepted anywhere. And so it is a big concern. Encryption helps, no question about it. And there are tactics we can use. But boy, it's a big, big worry.
No, David, we have a lot of questions coming in, a lot of questions. So we're probably not going to get to all of them, but I want to just put up a couple more. And one from Tom Eves here. A polite addition to your supervised, reinforced, unsupervised order. I think we will likely see a huge integration of these 3. Your thoughts?
Oh, Tom, you and I are on the same wavelength in this. Data science and the use of these concepts is new. And so a lot of times the data scientist says, which one will I use? As opposed to saying, let's try to solve the same problem with multiple techniques. Dr. Ives, I am with you on this one, that it is something that I think we will see more and more. And the more sophisticated data scientists, the one who have spent a little bit more time grappling with these problems. And it's what we do, in the PhD world, right? Like, we are supposed to approach a problem attacking it from multiple sources, because the biggest problem in hypothesis testing, bias. The second you think you have no bias, you've been defeated by bias. We all have bias. Data by definition has a bias in it. So if you can use multiple scientifically proven approaches, that's going to work to your. So Tom, I am with you on this one. That is something I'm seeing out of the more sophisticated chief data scientists out there. Great point.
And Joe here is asking if your company is GDG. Is that good data governance? That's what it stands for to me. Is driven by the business. What are your thoughts on how machine learning can support that?
So George, I thought it was just me. I'm like, GDG, what is that? Is that like a new acronym? Is it a new anime show? I don't know what that is. So I'll say it's good data governance. And
good data, George.
Good data, George. That would, Diana, you reminded me. There was a magazine in our industry called DM Review. And Ron Powell, who is one of the most important people in our industry that nobody knows this name except for the ones who are on the inside. He was the one who created that magazine. And it was funny because some people would ask me, is DM Review, is that David Marco? I go, no. I'm just a writer. I know more than that. So anyway, so as I mentioned, so to Joe, really look at how machine learning can help simplify and streamline the data governance tasks we're going for. For example, identifying things like PHI, protected health information, identifying your critical data elements. These are all important tasks that machine learning can help simplify. And I'm telling you, the vendors in this space, all of the major ones have invested in it. They are all invested in it. And they're all trying to bring something that'll be a more definitive solution in the marketplace. So you'll continue to see that. I assure you of that.
Absolutely. So I just want to do a little pause to mention everybody that if they want to learn more about amazing stuff in the world of data, to check out the Data Management University. And there are a lot of great courses out here and a lot of articles and videos that you can learn from. So please do check it out.
So this is actually ewsolutions.com, and that's where you can find courses from the Data Management University as well. Can you tell us a little bit about this, David?
Absolutely. So if you type in datamanagementu.com, you'll go right to it. U like university. And really, I'll give you kind of the history. Why not? Back when 1997 is when EW Solutions was formed. In 1998, I had a Rolodex of a whole 300 people. And I thought, how can I keep in front of these people? And I thought, well, every quarter I'll write them an article. So we started a newsletter called Real World Decision Support. And it has just evolved over the years. It became the Institute of, it became the EIM Institute. And now our latest incarnation is Data Management University. Yes, I have hundreds of articles up there and hundreds, and not quite hundreds of videos, probably about 40 videos. But we're really bringing in wonderful experts like George. We've had you contribute more than a couple times.
Yes, you have.
And we're honored to have you. Having great writers. And what we do is we make sure to only bring in good writers, people who are providing value to our readers. And it's great. We reach over 20,000 people a week via email, and we get tons of people coming to the sites, and it's all free. How do you beat free?
You can't. However, you also offer courses.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about those as well?
Absolutely.
So you can find them on datamanagementu.com as well.
Yeah, or go to datamanagementeducation.com. We'll take you right to the courses. There you go. So this is exciting. We have wanted to build courses in our online courses for years. I've done over 300 seminars and keynotes and webinars. And you start thinking, well, how can we really, teaching's expensive. To have live instruction costs money. So what we did was we built out university grade courses. I have multiple PhDs at the company. A lot of people know Dr. Anne-Marie Smith. Because of her ties in the world of universities, we've built doctoral, master's, and undergraduate programs in data management, in data governance, in data analytics from multiple universities. I think we're up to 4 universities now. And we thought, well, why don't we build some for ourselves? So actually, I go in and I teach. It's university grade. So these are the same kind of courses you would see at a university. So we have those. I'm the instructor of the data governance one, of the metadata one. We also do one on the DAMA CDMP fundamentals exam, and we're building one on data literacy now. So, and 2 more, but those are mega secret.
We're gonna keep a close watch.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you also provide consulting services. You mentioned some, very, very well-known companies that were your clients. What services do you offer? What do you do?
Well, that's our main business. I started, just so you guys know my background, I'm a lifetime consultant. I've always been one who, companies would pay to bring, one time when I worked for somebody else, it was that company in. And really at EW Solutions, that's what we do. We've had over 155 client partners over the years for our consulting services. We built the FBI's first working counterterrorism data warehouse.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. That's how I got the Cranes Award for the
Should
40
be in
under
the
40.
In the movies. Okay,
Yeah. Well, it's funny when they show, like, if you ever watch the X-Files, every time they would show the Hoover building, I go, oh, I used to be able to walk in there unescorted. And I could always tell was the inside. In some of the movie shows you watch, I could always tell when they actually shot it from the inside of it, or it's some building to look like it, because it's the most drab interior you have ever seen. It's good inside.
It's Fox Mulder, starring Fox Mulder, Dana Scully, and Dr. David Marco.
Exactly. Those are some great. I always like where in the X-Files, they'll have 18 aliens show up, and Dana Scully will always come up for a reason like, I think they were just shorter people. Maybe they were kids, just. Anyway, but no, that's really been our thrust, so it's what excites me. I love working with companies. I love working with these large federal agencies and really seeing how can we progress their data governance program? How can we take something where they have minimal data governance today and turn them into a world-class program? That's exciting. I think that'll always be my focus because it helps me be a better speaker on this topic. When people hear me talk live and they ask questions, well, how would you handle this problem or that problem? I'm not guessing at what works. I know it works based on that experience. And we have a great team at EW Solutions. I'm blessed to be working with some fantastic people, and I can't imagine doing anything else, to be quite honest.
Can
That's
I ask
amazing.
something? And
Yes.
before the show, we talked a little bit about your speaker experiences. Can you just share with the audience at least one, because they were so funny? So you have such, vast experience in public speaking. You're such a good public speaker, and you also had some very interesting experiences.
Yes, I share with George and Diana that when you give enough talks across enough continents, you've seen it all. So I've had people, I was giving a keynote in London. I had a lady pass out during it, and it really wrecked the mojo of the keynote. It was really, Londoners are not known to laugh. In fact, I was warned that they don't laugh. I find that unacceptable. If you're going to be in one of my talks, I'm going to make sure you have a good time while you learn. And I'm giving this keynote. It's going really great. And I like, George, this, I like to walk all over the place and move around. It's the Italian in me. And I look, and this guy is sitting next to a young lady, much like you two are, and he's tapping her, and her eyes are shut. And I go, is she okay? And he goes, I do not think so. And I go, oh boy. So I looked at her. She was breathing. I got help immediately. I kind of ran out of the room, told, let's call, whatever England's version of 911 is, get her in. And she was just, the only thing hurt was her ego. She, I think she was diabetic and she didn't take her insulin. I forgot. It was something with that. So she just passed out briefly. She was absolutely okay. I've had somebody.
Maybe it was your effect. Who knows?
It-
Like in the concert.
Yeah, it could have been, right. Oh goodness, it was so like I can laugh on it now, but when I first saw she wasn't responding to his taps, I got worried. I ran over to her to see, is she breathing? I have a little bit of medical knowledge, so I was able to kind of double check a few things, and then I ran out to get some, a real professional help. And she was fine, absolutely okay. I had another experience where I was teaching at a course where, let's theater of the mind, everybody. On one side, there's a door and to leave the room. On the other side, exactly opposite of the door, is a window. I'm sorry, a mirror. And this young lady's leaving the course to go to the restroom, and she goes right and walks right into the mirror. But again, only thing hurt was her backside, and there you go. She was fine. And I looked at, you could see like the door was open. So when you look at the mirror, it shows an open door, and it was a clean mirror. Like, kudos to the hotel. I mean, they had the cleanest mirrors in history. I've had the heat go out. I've had it where I was sicker than a dog, where I hadn't slept. So I did one. Here's a great one. Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I had a great honor of going out there and not only teaching, but working at a client partner of ours. And I go out there, and the way it works is their day begins when Chicago's day ends. So I had no sleep that night. So I never got to sleep. I show up and I'm having to teach there. And I mean, it is hot. I was there at a hot period of time. I'm just pouring, but the people were so nice. As I'm teaching there, I bring up, oh, I'm from Chicago. And this fellow brings up, he goes, there's this great Middle Eastern restaurant he brings up that's 7 minutes from my house. True story, guys. I'd never eaten there. I'd seen it I'm in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and somebody's telling me about a restaurant 7 minutes from my house, telling me how great it was. And I went there. It was very good. I've had the projector go out. I've had the computer go out where I taught just from notes. I've just done a whole presentation writing on a dry marker board like the one here. And you move forward no matter what happens. And oh gosh, here's one I didn't tell you. This is a really embarrassing one. This is back when DCI used to do conferences, and they used to have a 7 a.m. like before breakfast learning thing. So I'm hosting it. I'm sitting at a table with like 15 people, and we're talking about different things. And I'm a little tired, I'm a little groggy. And in it, I wanted to say batch cycles are shrinking. And I didn't use the word batch. The A was replaced by an I. And as I said it, it's so true. I in my mind, I'm hearing batch, but then when my voice spoke, I heard something else, and I go, this is not recorded. I remember to this day. It was so bad. Oh, I had another one. George, wait, can I show one more?
I tell you one about, yes. And about George? Last, in December in Washington, he wanted to say it's a little bit of both, but he said it's a little
Yeah, it just slipped.
George, you're in great company, my friend. I'll give you a really good one too. I was giving a talk on metadata, and I had this Chinese symbol that I just had on the slide because I thought it was interesting. And this woman raises her hand, and she goes, and she was clearly Asian, and she goes, "Do you know what that symbol means?" And I said, "No, I don't. Do I want to know what it means?" 150 people in the room. It's huge. She goes, "That's the Chinese symbol for female." And the title of my slide was Unstructured Metadata Sources. I removed that image after the slideshow. It was so, we all got a great laugh. And that's the key. You do this enough, you're gonna screw up. You're going to make mistakes. Have a little bit of fun, laugh it off, and I'm sure I have more mistakes coming.
Which is okay.
Which is
It
okay.
happens.
Yes.
And I think you're very good at, laughing about it and making something positive out of it.
Yeah.
You
So
have
David,
to.
we loved having you. We're coming to a close here. Just want to mention one thing that Joe did clarify what GDG stands for. It stands for Global Data Governance, which it makes sense. I'm more used to enterprise data governance, but global makes sense.
Yep.
So
Yes.
thanks for that clarification. And Grace here really wants you to know that it was quite a very organized, thorough, and straightforward presentation. And we thank you. A lot of good comments, amazing comments are coming in. And sorry that we didn't get a chance to get to all the questions, but as we mentioned, you got a chance to reach out to David either via email, or is it dmarco@ewsolutions.com, or just connect with him on LinkedIn as well.
It's easy. Well, and thank you guys for having me. It was a joy to be with you guys and to be on the Good Data Morning Show. I have to tell you, I've a couple times when I think, is it Good Morning Data Show or Good? I know it's Good Data Morning Show, but it's fun. It's a tongue
That's
twister.
the beauty. It can be both. Yeah.
But or a show Good Data Morning.
You will have a good morning if you have good data.
Absolutely, you will. Absolutely. And I tell you, I don't know if you guys have this experience. We get caught with this even internally at EW Solutions. Like, okay, what are you actually talking about now? I need a little more metadata on this topic, a little more context. So it's a never-ending battle, but it's an exciting one, isn't it? There's so much to be done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, David. We hope to have you back again. And until then, everybody, have a great, great Friday and weekend ahead.
Thank you very much, everyone, for your questions and engagement. And thank you, David. It was a true pleasure to have you.
Thanks, everybody.
It was a joy to be with both of you. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.